Out of the Honda one though, what were you most excited by in terms of their launch? Was there anything that actually did pique your interest?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, there's two videos I've published this week. The first one was the CBF Concept bike, which is, it's funny that we've been talking about the CB1000R so much on the last couple of episodes, because I've got that one from Honda, and we were just talking about the pricing on them. But this is a concept bike based on that chassis and engine. And then it's got the CB900F influenced subframe tail section and tank and paint job, and it looks bloody good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like
think it
that.
looks awesome.
I'd be hard pushed to choose between that and the CB1000 they've got currently.
Yeah, it's got a different flavour, hasn't it? So I think the idea was that they wanted to celebrate 60 years, which was last year, of the first CB bike, and they say that particular CB 900F, which was released around the turn of the 80s, I think it was sold between like 79 and 83. Yeah. They thought that was like one of the most iconic, and therefore they kind of used that influence. It's interesting when Japanese companies do retro bikes that they put that big, fat, long tail section on them, which is definitely a kind of signature design feature of that era of bikes from Japan. But same with like, if you compare the Z900 RS you've just mentioned to the Z900, the modern one, it has a much longer tail with a bit of a little, like, it almost looks like a little spoiler.
Back, is it?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Just a little lip to it.
And so
80s style.
The CBF has that a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does, and I like it actually. I always used to hate the 80s, but actually the more I look at it, I quite like certain things from sort of 80s design, 80s, 90s design.
Coming round. Well, we talked about this a few episodes ago, didn't we? That like retros like Bonneville's and that kind of thing, and the sort of the earlier 70s Japanese inline fours. You know, those were all really popular for customizing. It just feels like maybe 80s, and we talked about 90s sports bikes coming round a bit.
I think so. Definitely. Out of those, though, which one do you prefer? I don't know how many of you have ridden. So there's in my mind, there's the Katana, there's the RS 900, sorry, not RS, the Z900 RS even, and the Honda CB1000.
Well, the first question you asked was, out of the CBF and the CB1000R, which would you choose? Yeah, which I think that's firstly quite an interesting one. And I think on novelty, I'd probably go for the CBF. But then I don't know if after a while I'd just wish I had the CB1000R, because it looks a bit more contemporary. Yeah. My first instinct would be the CBF, but yeah, that might be like recency bias, you know, where you just like the most recent one that's been released. Yeah, maybe. But it does, it looks good. And I like that it has, like, some people commented on my video about it saying it should have traditional twin shocks at the rear to make it look a little bit more, you know, like the CB900F. But that's pretty much what the CB1100 RS is. You know, that's got a normal swing arm with twin shocks and kind of that square tank design as well. Yeah, actually, that's true. Square kind of, Yeah, I know what you mean, like a rectangular sort of blocky look to it. Yeah. And the signature, the kind of signature design feature of the CB1000R is the single-sided swing arm, and that rear wheel is a thing of beauty in its own right. Yeah. So I quite like that it combines that really modern, you know, the motor looks modern. They changed the engine casings a little bit, but like the bottom half of the bike essentially looks quite modern. The top half, you know, the tank, the seat, the front light, looks kind of old school. So I did like that mix. But yeah, I think probably in the long run, you know, a bit more subtle black CB1000R might be easier to live with. But yeah, it's really, really cool. I think as well, on looks alone, because I've not ridden the Katana or the Z900. Have you ridden any of the Suzukis? No. Because it's basically it's the same as the GSX-S 1000. Not ridden that either.
Really? Fine. then ignore and move on to your next point.
Well, no, I mean, you've ridden the Katana, haven't you?
Yeah, no, I've ridden all of them. So the Kawasaki, the Katana, and the
Have you?
And the Honda as well.
Sneaky devil.
Yeah, man. I was very productive at the start of last year, not so much at the end.
On looks alone, like, I'd say that the Honda's my favourite.
Mm-hmm.
The Katana doesn't look great to me. I think if you remember that era, it's fine, but otherwise, not so much. The Z900 RS used to be one of my favourite looking retro bikes, but it's just it's not quite got it now versus that Honda. What about you?
To ride, I think the Kawasaki. I do. Very closely followed by the Honda.
Why? Tell me more. I'm Googling.
Right, okay.
Because I'm pretty sure it's a long way down on power, the Z900 RS. 109 versus 143, I think, on the... It's not all about power, Tim.
Done differently though, isn't it? It's not all about power, no. Especially not when you think anything over 100 horsepower, are you really getting the best of it on the road anyway? Does it make that much difference how much further you go than that?
Is that a comment on my riding?
Yeah, I'm saying how much are you personally using?
Specifically you, Rob, how much are you getting out of it? Not a lot, mate.
I don't think anyone can really put that down. You can't. Legally, you can't put it on the road. You might try and find some sort of black spot somewhere where you can do it, but legally you can't. I remember it being quite a punchy, fun, tight little bike, the Kawasaki Z9.
All right.
I liked it.
Fair enough. But yeah, overall, absolutely love that concept. Likelihood of making it to production. I mean, it's not like when you see... electric, like the Kawasaki have this J concept where it's like an electric three-wheeler and it morphs between like a sporty low position and then you press a button and then it kind of springs up and it looks like a Tron type thing. And you look at that and you're like, well, that's just them trying to push the sort of design forward by, showing off something really futuristic, but like they'll never really produce it. This CBF concept, I mean, it's not that different to what they already make, and it's also based on another bike. It's basically a body kit. So the chances of it being released, given the reception, I don't know. I'd give it a medium.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Because it'd be easy to do. Do you?
Yeah. No, but I think the CB1000, the current one, what is really quite close to the original concept they did. So I would be surprised if they don't make something very similar.
The CB1000R is pretty retro anyway, or it's a bit retro, and then the CB1100 RS is totally retro. So I just don't see where it would fit in unless one of those gets retired.
I don't think it doesn't cost them that much to make though, because it's the same as the CB1000. So I don't think it'll be a huge problem. It's like the Katana being out there. Suzuki made that. They didn't need to make it. They just, they had. Essentially is the GSX-S 1000 underneath. They didn't need to do a lot to it. They just put a skin on it. And even if it doesn't sell in massive numbers, I don't think it's that much of a... It's certainly not that expensive in terms of research and development.
True.
And the parts that they put on it is just a kit, really, so it doesn't cost them a huge amount. I genuinely think it'll be coming out, because they do that with all their bikes anyway. If you look at the 500 series, they've got loads of different CB 500s.
Yeah.
And they all tweaked ever so slightly, but they've got such a range of them. You're like, do you need another one, really? And I would argue, actually, they've got their number pretty right on there. Right. So I think they probably would do it. I think it probably will come out in some capacity. And they regularly do these F versions as well. Like they've got the CBR 650F version, which is a sort of taller version of the CBR. So yeah, it's not a huge ask for them. And the F series is always one that they're quite happy to sort of plug out there, because there's a slightly different market for it.
Fingers crossed it does happen anyway. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm giving it a medium.
I like it.
You're giving it a high chance. So that means if it does get released, you win. If it doesn't, I win.
What do I win?
The
bike?
Yeah. Honda CBF,
Great.
of course.
All right.
The other bike that launched as well was the Hunter Cub, the CT125.
Yeah.
Which that was a concept. Actually, fair play. You just said that the CBF is likely to launch because the CB1000R concept was pretty close to what they actually launched. So you think that might launch, and the CT125 is another example of that. Although, like, it's a super old idea because they had the trail curb like many years ago. They've been using the CT110. Australian Postal Service uses it, and even there's another one, I can't remember what it's called, Cross Cub. It looks kind of similar. It's not quite as nice looking as this, but yeah, they do have a tendency for turning these concepts into production, and this was another example, although I think it might just be for the Asian market.